Hello everyone, today is Thursday, October the 26th, the day after the most recent Bank of Canada meeting where they've kept the overnight rate the same, which would mean the prime rate remains at 7.2%. As always, I got to turn to my colleague here, Joe Jacobs. Joe, what happened? Let's give it the boil down.
It's so crazy when you say 7.2, but that is the reality. It is 7.2. But it is maybe the start of some more good news from the Bank of Canada. Really, they're saying that inflation is getting to a point where they don't know if they can continue to do increases, or at least they're going to do a bit of a pause. I would say we were about a 50-50 on what the Bank of Canada was going to do until the inflation data came out from September, and we saw that it was actually down. It was under 4%. The market had predicted 4%. Really, that gave the Bank of Canada the opportunity to pause things. Really, another increase probably would be taking things to a point where it's just going to be too much for the consumer. So maybe touch a little bit on why the Bank of Canada has so much power and why when they increase a rate, it's such an impact on the Canadian borrower.
Yeah, more so in what I've been reading is, and it makes sense, is more so on the Canadian borrower than to our neighbors in the South, because we have shorter term mortgages here in Canada typically than what they have in the US. So ours then renew sooner. So when people come up for renewal, we're seeing those interest rates that they've had previously around 2 to 3%, now jumping to the mid 5s, even low 6s. So they're being impacted sooner than our neighbors in the South who may be in a 25 or a 30-year term where their mortgage rate remains flat regardless. So we're having that impact here now. And to what you had said about the bank holding pat, you know, the government of Canada is staying very firm in the fact that they are going to fight inflation. There's still some factors, some drivers that show that it could rise. They're going to sit back and watch and be hopeful that it may remain or continue to go down. But they have said they will raise again if they need to. And here's hoping for the interim that things kind of settle out. Economists have warned them to please give it some time to see the true effects of what these rate increases have had.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a fair point. We've got one more announcement coming in December. Again, no one knows what's going to happen on it, but the data is showing that the market's slowing down. The data is showing that this isn't good news, but there's a weaker job market than there was, but that's good news for inflation. So are we fully in a recession yet? Maybe not, but you can argue that we are because we're not seeing growth, and we've seen now 3/4 of that. So it is a reality that the lever that they've pulled, which is just continuing to raise rates, has had some benefit besides, you know, obviously the nastiness of higher rates. But they've also kind of got to the point, and we were talking about this earlier, Josh, that raising rates now almost becomes inflationary. Yes. Because one of the costs that will make inflation go up is housing. And if you keep raising mortgage rates, you're raising the cost of borrowing, but you're also raising rents because landlords have more expensive mortgages. They're passing that on to the tenant. So they're in a tough spot where raising rates may not even help inflation anymore. So I think the Bank of Canada definitely made a wise move to sit back and wait. And hopefully, as a borrower with a variable rate mortgage or a line of credit, you're going to see things kind of stay pat till the end of the year.
Yeah, and there's some optimism recently when we were just at the annual conference for Mortgage Professionals Canada that we could see rates come down in 24. There's some talk about that. I'm not going to speculate on that, but there's some buzz around it. So hopefully there's a brighter future ahead in terms of interest rate. Yeah. All right. So, okay. I think that will wrap up on that. Okay. Thank you very much. Of course, if you ever have any questions, this is Josh and Joe with Mortgage Connection. Please reach out. Always reach out to a mortgage broker. We're here. We're happy to help. Thank you for watching.